Yeah.
Good morning. I'd like to thank everybody for attending today. And I'd like to call to order the Fayette County Commissioners meeting Tuesday, September 18th at 10:01 a.m. Please stand as Reverend Fayette says a prayer for us today.
Let's pray. Father, we come before you in Jesus' name. And Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord, for this wonderful county you've planted us in. We thank you, Lord, for these commissioners. We ask you, Father, now to bless this meeting. And Lord, I ask that you'd bless this country again. Father, the next 40 days, we're going to be fasting and praying churches around the country. And we're asking you, Father, to bless us, Father. It says in your word, it says in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 10, for anyone who enters God's rest also rests from his own work, and just as God did for his. You promised us, Father, to enter into rest. And Father, we're praying now that as we fast and pray, to see this nation turn around and find rest in you. We thank you, Father, for this day, and bless each one here. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, there's just two items we'd like to amend on the agenda today. First one is to consider adopting a resolution to show support for House Bill 135 and Justice Reinvestment Funding. The second is a proclamation to include Infant Mortality Awareness Month of September 2012. Are there any public comments on any of the agenda items today?
All right. I would like to request the county commissioners to delay hiring and approving the contract of Christian Lockhart until the next commissioners meeting. Okay. I can't discuss anything further, but I don't know if this is the one that I'm thinking about or not. But I would like to request that the commissioners table that until the next commissioners meeting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any other public comments on the agenda item? Okay. We'll go to the...
I make a motion to amend the agenda.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Reverend, do you have something to ask?
Yes, I do. We're having a prayer for our neighbors. It's called the 40 Days of Fasting and Prayer. That's going to be October 7th. That'll be at the George Marshall Monument. There will be a flag folding ceremony presenting a flag to a family that lost a veteran in war. So we encourage everyone to come out. And also we're having a marriage parade on November the 4th at 2 p.m. And that allows everyone to get home then to watch the Steelers play at 4 o'clock. So anybody would like to participate, we're also having a special, and this is something that would be great to go out. We're having a special float for anyone who's been married for over 50 years. So we thought that would be wonderful to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item is proclamations. There are two. The first one is Employ Older Workers Week, September 24th through September 29th. I feel sort of compelled to read this one. Whereas America continues to witness a dramatic growth in its population of those 55 or older, a trend that will continue well into the 21st century. And whereas a diverse, skilled, and knowledgeable labor force contributes to the strong, healthy economy of Fayette County and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And whereas older workers bring stability, expertise, and a sense of continuity to the workplace, and whereas the older workers are increasingly accepting the challenge for lifelong learning and have embraced new technologies to enhance their employability and their value in building a knowledgeable workforce through the Senior Employment Program. And whereas the Senior Employment Program has improved the quality of life of older workers in the Commonwealth through employment and training assistance and as a valued workforce development partner. Whereas the citizens of Fayette County, Pennsylvania support the efforts of the Department of Labor, Administration on Aging, Pennsylvania Department of Aging, and the Southwestern Pennsylvania Area Agency on Aging, and wish to continue those efforts to offer opportunities to seniors in our community. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Fayette County Board of Commissioners, Alfred Ambrosini, Chairman, Vince Salvatosky, Vice Chairman, and Angela M. Zimmerling, Secretary, do hereby proclaim September 24th through 29th, 2012 as Employ the Older Worker Week, and urge the citizens of Fayette County and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance.
You guys want to come up?
Good morning.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Let me go back. Good morning. Should be good late. Here, let me present this to you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be brief.
Okay. On behalf of our Fayette County Supervisor Gwen Ridgely of the Area Agency on Aging, Nancy Lee, a participant in the Title V, which is an income-eligible program through the Older Americans Act of 1965. One thing as I was coming down from Washington County, and I apologize, my name is Matt Uram. I'm with the Area Agency on Aging. I job develop for both unsubsidized, which would be regular employment, as well as the Title V program, which is the program that's based on the Older Americans Act of 1965. The one point that I wanted to drive home more than anything is on the way down, I'd heard that one of the presidential candidates stated 47% of our citizens are entitled. Let me tell you something, our seniors are not entitled. They work very hard for every dollar they get. They add to the economy in Fayette County, they train, they learn new skills, and they're going to be productive well into their 80s. Now, we've figured out how to make our population livable. We just haven't figured out how to pay for it yet. And Nancy's paying her way right now in the Title V program. She contributes to the community, she contributes to her own growth as a person, and she will be active in this for many, many years. In about 2 years, I'll be placing her in regular employment, where the tax base and all that will be working in the favor of Fayette County. So let's remember as we go through today, there are people that need help. It's not 47% of the population, and it's not the hardworking seniors that want to get out of the house, combat isolation, combat dementia, combat other illnesses that you get because you're not productive. Our seniors are productive, and they will continue to be productive. And I feel very positively that Fayette County recognizes that. It has been an instrumental county in working with seniors for many, many years, and I know and I feel confident they will continue to do that. I appreciate your time today. Reverend, I thank you for your spin on the national scene, and I look forward to seeing you guys next September as we talk about the merits of this senior employment program as well as seniors working in Fayette County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, the next proclamation is involves Infant Mortality Awareness Month of September.
Is there anyone here? Then I'll just read it. Infant Mortality Awareness Month Infant mortality, referring to the death of a baby before it reaches its first birthday, is especially prevalent in communities with large minority populations, high rates of unemployment, poverty, and limited access to safe housing and medical providers. And infant mortality is recognized as an indicator of our nation's health and health disparities in the population, and infant mortality is a significant and troubling public health issue for which studies have shown that the cost of care for low birth weight babies, a major risk factor associated with infant death, has an estimated annual economic impact of $26.2 billion. And Pennsylvania ranks 17th in infant deaths, with the infant mortality rate of 7.5 deaths per 1,000 live births, according to the United States Census Bureau. And Healthy Starts Incorporated, out of Pittsburgh, Allegheny, and Fayette County, projects having a successful increase of the rate of pregnant women participating in early prenatal care during her first trimester to 89.1% and 92.7% respectively, directly saving the lives of many vulnerable infants. And 9 out of 10 children born to parents receiving services from Healthy Start are born full term at a normal weight and without incident of birth defects. And organizations such as Healthy Start, which is federally funded, community-based organization that implements case management, home visiting, health education, and has an active community coalition, a strong community-based coalition, have contributed significantly to decreasing the rates of infant mortality locally and nationally. And groups across the nation are holding special events like baby parades, bowling for babies, fundraisers, neighborhood health fairs, open houses, poster contests, unbirthday parties, clothesline projects, memorial gardens, and other initiatives to raise awareness of infant mortality and prevention. The recognition and observance of Infant Mortality Awareness Month by groups such as Healthy Start will increase national awareness of infant mortality, promote addressing its contributing factors, and educating local communities about preventable negative birth outcomes. Therefore, be it resolved that the Fayette County Board of Commissioners recognize the month of September as Infant Mortality Awareness Month. There's no one here? Okay.
Thank you, Vince.
I'll make the motion to adopt the proclamations.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Item number 5, Fayette County Redevelopment Authority. Consider adoption of a resolution which approves the submission of an application requesting funding through the Emergency Solutions Grant Earth ESG-H program.
Make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Consider adoption of a resolution which allocates Act 137 Affordable Housing Trust Fund to the Fayette County Redevelopment Authority to support the implementation of affordable housing initiatives.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Assessment Office. Consider approval of the following for real estate taxes exemptions as they have been deemed 100% disabled veterans by the Veterans Administration of Pennsylvania effective for the 2013 tax year. Beverly Valentine of South Gordon Street, Uniontown, Ronald Reiner of Flat Rock Road in Markleysburg, and Robert Cooper of Briar Creek Lane in Fairchance.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Consider approval to send 6 certified assessors for 9 hours of required continuing education classes on September 25th and 26th. They cost $165 per person, total amount of $990. Fees include instruction and materials previously requisitioned and submitted for payment to the Laurel Mountain Chapter, Assessors Association of Pennsylvania. Travel will be to Oakhurst Restaurant in Somerset, PA.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Consider leasing natural gas rights to Chevron Corporation for parcel 19-32-0022 for approximately a half acre. Terms of lease are $1,000 per acre plus proportional share of royalty payments.
Mr. Cuff, did you have an opportunity to go over the lease agreement?
I did. And believe I prepared a resolution for Amy to have you folks sign that does this.
Do we have that resolution available? Did the terms and royalties appear to be appropriate?
They're what they're going to give you. You only have half an acre.
Yeah.
You're not in a position to negotiate anything that I think would be stronger with half an acre. Yeah. More than 10 acres, maybe they'll talk to you about some of the term.
No.
I think they need to sign both. They'll do that after.
Yeah, we can sign those after. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we have it here. Do I have a
I'll
motion?
make the motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'm going to abstain, and the reason for it is that these documents here, it's not very clear. The one document says that the county would receive there was an offer of $18,750 upfront monies, but there is nothing in the lease agreement, payment terms, or conditions that reference the upfront monies. And then also it says that future royalties of 12.5% would be given to the county if a well ever gets drilled. Yet when you read the documents, there's no mention of 12.5%.
Should be an addendum.
I read them not. Hold on one second. And also, what's the other issue that's, it says in here that they have apparently 2 known owners, but there's a section in the lease that says that should it be later determined that the lessor, which would be the county of Fayette, owns a greater or lesser acreage, then it's the intent of the lessor to lease or let all rights and titles and interest entirely within the boundaries of the tax map. So it's not very, and that's bolded and underlined, and it's not clear as to who all the owners of the properties are. So the issues, which again, I mean, I read the documents. I don't see the $18,000 up front. I don't see the 12%. What I see is $1,000 per acre, and that's it, and a proportionate share of royalty payments. I'm not completely satisfied with the terms of the lease. I think there needs to be more of a discussion, and also it's not just a matter of money. It's also a matter of discussion on. There's portions in here regarding pipelines and how far they can be drilled. No well drilled 100 feet of an existing barn or dwelling. There's things in there that I think should have been discussed and was not. So.
Maybe to help explain some of this further, I spoke with the leasing agent recently, and how he explained it is that if the county would go and sign this lease, I think maybe the first terms is for $1, and then within 120 days, unless they commenced drilling, but from the date this is first signed for $1, there will be a 120-day period in which Chevron would actually send their title abstractors to determine if the county actually owns the mineral rights. Right now, the county owns the property through a tax claim deed, so we are the surface owners, and it's explained to me that it's not really clear that the county actually owns all rights. So if this resolution was signed, then they would go ahead and send their crew of abstractors and title searchers into the courthouse to verify that the county owns the mineral rights. Then at that time, then the county would receive this $1,000 per acre for this half acre. Also in a conversation, what he said that it would actually be more of a benefit to the surrounding property owners for the county to go ahead and sign this. And that way, what they do, they'll pull, typically they'll pull a half dozen separate property owners to drill. And then if for some reason this small, what it is, it's a small landlocked half-acre lot. And if for some reason they could not lease this property, maybe they couldn't fully harvest the gas reserves from the neighboring property. So,
all the more reason to find out what we're entering into before we agree to sign off on
yeah.
it.
So
And also this property, it says that it's a proposal between Chestnut Ridge and Chevron. Apparently the property, it says here the property is described as a halfway house for mentally challenged individuals. I've already stated, I think that it's important that we clearly understand what is being signed.
okay.
John, do you have anything to add to that?
The Chestnut Ridge may be a fusion. I think that's two different things.
Okay, well, if it's not, no.
Yeah, because this is a vacant, I can draw you here. We have a half acre of landlocked property that looks something like that. And there's one person that owns this piece and another person that owns this piece. And this is what we're leasing at this time.
Okay, this here is from September 11th, and the subject says Chevron lease.
Yeah.
And it says on here that it appears from the document that the county would be leasing 1/2 acre of land for purposes of oil and gas. It is unclear how much money we will actually receive. The parcel is not apparently valuable and does not appear to have any buildings on it, and it's a standard lease. But again, what we're talking about is oil and gas exploration, and I don't feel comfortable in signing off on something like that without all of the facts and some additional information.
In this step, this first step is to allow them to determine whether or not the county has the mineral rights to begin with.
Right.
You don't
Without
need to go on.
this,
You don't
excuse
need to
me,
go
without
on.
this, they would not be able to do the abstract study, correct?
Right. Well, they would
We don't
not
know.
want to pay a person to do this study for mineral rights if the county first would not agree to allow that to happen.
You don't need to sign a lease agreement to determine whether or not mineral rights are owned by the county. There's legwork that could be done by Chevron to show the county solicitors and the commissioners whether or not mineral rights are owned. Why would we sell? Doesn't matter. Okay, I made my statement.
Okay.
Where is this property?
It's on the Ada Palmer Road in Missouri
Okay, do I have a motion to,
We've already voted on
should we rescind it?
it. It's up to you.
Do I have a motion to rescind this motion until we get additional information on the property and find out if we even indeed have mineral rights?
I'll rescind my motion. That's no problem.
Do I have a second?
Okay.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
So we'll table that till we have further information. Item number 7, Behavioral Health Administration. Consider approving the following agreements and modifications.
Make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Consider awarding bid number 12-08 to Acme Auto Leasing LLC, 440 Washington Avenue, North Haven, Connecticut, at a monthly cost of $477.00 for 36 months, with a total cost of $17,172 for the lease period, with 18,000 miles per year allowance.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Children and Youth Services. Consider approval of a fiscal year 2012-13 purchase of service agreement between the County of Fayette through Fayette County Children and Youth Services and John Copus III, Esquire, of Uniontown, for the service rate of $65 an hour.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Consider approval of fiscal year 2012-13 purchase of service agreement between the County of Fayette through Fayette County Children and Youth Service and George Esquire.
Make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Consider approval of a fiscal year 2012-13 purchase of service agreement between the County of Fayette through Fayette County Children and Youth Services and Avanco International Incorporated.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider approval of a fiscal year 2012-13 purchase of service agreement between the County of Fayette through the Fayette County Children and Youth Services and Avanco International for the listed rates.
Make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider approval of fiscal year 11-12 purchase of service agreements between the County of Fayette through Fayette County Children and Youth Services and the Children's Institute Project Star.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider approval of the reappointment. Excuse me. Consider approval of the reappointment of Deborah Hudak for a 3-year term on the Fayette County Children and Youth Services Advisory Committee, effective September 30th, 2012. Deborah's new term will expire September 30th, 2015.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Consider accepting the resignation of longtime Fayette County Children and Youth Services Advisory Board member Marjorie Zago, effective September 30th, 2012. The advisory committee voted unanimously to accept Marie's resignation.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider approval of a fiscal year 2012-13 purchase of service agreements between the County of Fayette through Fayette County Children and Youth Services and Professional Family Care Services Incorporated.
Make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Controller, financial condition of the county.
Commissioners, for your approval dated this 18th of September 2012, in our checking account with United Bank, we have $7,658,909.99. Monies that are owed to our general fund, which include temporary loans from victim and witness and children and youth, amount to $1,780,000. ARC payments due from the respective agencies are $89,983.50. Central Service Fund payments, as listed on the agenda, are $86,483. Funds that the general fund owes in our form of a TRAN note is $4,500,000. For the budget year 2012, our net position is $5,115,376.49. Our total revenues in 2012 have been $23,990,207.28. In 2012, our expenditures have been $18,042,501.83. Total revenues that are being paid from 2011 and this fiscal year are $2,030,829.03. Our capital reserve fund balance is $66,900. Our bond fund balance is $326,092.98.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
Item number 10, courts. Consider placing on the, or consider making a motion to voiding a contract between the Fayette County Booking Center and Constable Donald Marietta, effective September 1st, 2012.
Make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, motion carries. Consider accepting a contract between the Fayette County Booking Center and Kristen Lockhart of Vanderbilt as the independent contractor at a rate of $15 per hour, effective September 24th, 2012, to expire December 31st, 2012.
Move.
Second, and just a quick comment, Mr. Pritchard, the courts, if I may, please, the courts do their hiring and their firing. This is a court function, the booking center, so I'll second the motion based on that.
Okay, I says consider, but I have no problem if you guys are approving this unless, as long as you put a condition in the contract, whatever the court does, that if she becomes no longer a constable and her term of constable suddenly ends during the contract, then her status as an independent contractor shall end. Then, I wouldn't have no objections to this.
We can't make that stipulation, Mr. Pritchard. She has been approved by the courts and their oversight.
Let's just consider.
Well, it's for us to consider approving. We've already received a recommendation, so I'm seconding the motion.
I understand what you can do what you want.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Consider approving the appointments to the Fayette County Constable's Board to handle any discrepancies that may take place for a term to expire 1/2013. President Judge Solomon recommends the following Magisterial District Judge Ronald Haggerty Jr., Controller Sean Lally, and Constable Robert Geary. President Judge Solomon. This was agreed to by the Constable Association in April of 2012.
Make the motion.
Second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I'll abstain, and the reason for that is that I sent an email to everyone saying that this was already passed back in March of 2012. The courts confirmed that was done, and also I don't know who presented the proposed resolution to name President Judge Solomon, but he doesn't want to be placed on the board, according to the communication that the court sent to all three commissioners.
We'll have to discuss that with the judge. I don't know who put the text of the motion in. Was it Tammy? Oh, okay. Tammy?
Yeah, the resolution was currently done. It was done on March 20th, and the president judge is fine with the resolution as it stands. So this, really isn't. We don't need to. It's already been proven also that the Constable Association board is on the insurance. So this is really a mute discussion at this point. It's been handled. And the president judge does not need to be on the board.
Well, it's not just a moot because, again, it's passed in March, and the individuals that the president judge recommended were named in the resolution and unanimously approved. This resolution here that was just passed includes the president judge, which shouldn't.
No, the president judge should not be on the board because he is the one that will be disciplining based on in his capacity as president judge.
The question then is who prepared the resolution?
The commissioners prepared the resolution in March. That resolution is correct.
How did this resolution appear on here, and who prepared the text of it? That's what I'm asking.
I had sent an email to, I believe, Amy, and asking for the three to be placed on.
I know there was an issue after March regarding the insurance liability. That became an issue, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Verifying it, yeah.
In your correspondence that just occurred within the past couple of weeks, not back in March, did you request that the president judge be named in here?
No, the president judge should never be named on the resolution.
Did you have a chance to review the motion when it was put on the agenda?
Yes.
And no correction was made to the chief clerk at that time?
I did not actually formally do it, but it was discussed.
I did.
And
I did.
everything
You did it?
I did it to everyone who we're talking about right now. You, Tammy, chief clerk, and 2 commissioners and assistants.
Okay. Well, to shorten this up a bit, do I have a motion to remove Judge Solomon from the?
I'm going to make a motion to rescind based on the motion being passed as of March of 2012, correct?
Correct.
Better yet. Do I have a second? I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye, motion carries. Under Emergency Management 911, consider approval of the contract with Motorola Incorporated in the amount of $7,459,380.61 for the upgrade of the Fayette County Public Safety Radio System with integration into the Inter-County Digital Radio System, acronym ICORS, which includes the following counties: Westmoreland, Armstrong, and Indiana. The county will review, discuss, and approve a financing agreement with Motorola for a lease purchase, as well as other financial options available to the county.
Mr. Lodge, did you have any opportunity to review any of this?
I did. I was handed an agreement that basically outlined the amortization schedule for Motorola financing and the terms and conditions. And what they came up with was 2 plans. One of them was at 2.68% interest over 10 years with an annual payment of $844,000 approximately for this service. The second proposal, and that's 3 months in arrear. Our first payment would actually start on January the 1st of 2013. The second proposal that Motorola presented was an option to go 15 months into arrears at 3.10% interest with an approximate payment of $866,000 over 10 years. I sent the 3 commissioners, all of you, an email outlining those terms and the differences in the interest. With the 15 months in arrears program, we accumulate approximately $220,000 in additional interest before any payments are made. With the 3 months in arrears, we average around $17,000 a month in interest. But the benefit of going 3 months in arrears is anticipation of the impact fee money that is coming supposedly on December the 1st. It gives us a foothold on actually receiving some of those revenues. And my recommendation to the commissioners was to go with Plan 1, which is 2.68% interest amortized over 10 years at a payment of approximately $844,000 a month, or a year, excuse me.
Is Roy here still, or did he leave? Would you like to come up, if you would, please, and indulge us with what this program is and the importance of it for the county? I know you brought it at the agenda meeting, but I think it's only...
Well, as I mentioned at the agenda meeting, our present system was put in 94, 95. When our present system was put in, we was told it had a 10-year life. And as you can do the math, we're well past our 10-year life cycle on that equipment. And it's no longer it's being serviced by Motorola because we have an agreement locked in, but it's getting very difficult to find replacement parts for it. A new system would replace and upgrade our old system, and going from analog to digital, we would be a part of the ICORS, which would be a $1.5 to $2 million savings to the county, because the county being part of the Region 13 Task Force, the Region 13 Task Force spent grant money that we had received from Homeland Security, DHS funding, to buy the switch, the backbone of the radio system, which other counties are going to use, which is a savings to everybody. So the upgrade would include us being interoperability with Westmoreland, Armstrong, Indiana, as well as other counties at this time. Somerset's looking to go on to the switch also. Most of our, not all, but a lot of our mobile units and portables have been upgraded. 34, I think is it 34 departments have put together a grant through the Homeland Security to finish upgrading their radios, and it looks favorable that they may get that based on us, the county, moving forward with the purchase of the system. They've had inquiries of what the status is in the county before they finally approve the grant. But that's where we're at. Our system is at the end of life, and we came before the board last year, first part of last year, and asked permission to have Motorola prepare a proposal for upgrading and replacing out our system, and this is the product of their work. And as all three commissioners have sat down and seen the proposal, seen the new equipment, seen what the other counties is doing, visited the Westmoreland site where the I-Core switch is located, and that's where we're at today.
Thank you. I'll make the motion. Consider approval of the contract with Motorola as an amount listed on the agenda for the digital upgrade of the radio system known as I-Core. And also to enter into Plan A, is it Sean, or Plan 1?
That's correct. Plan 1.
Plan 1.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion on the issue?
Someone's getting ready to ask you before the motion was made. Did you, Solicitor Cupp, you had an opportunity to review it?
Yeah, I did.
I have a couple questions.
It's this packet here. Mr. Napalola and I had a
I just have
Okay.
3 questions. Okay. And also, did Cheryl Hyde review this?
She gave me her notes.
Okay. Did Solicitor Berkeley review it yet or not? Or you're relying on them?
I'm relying on them,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So I'll pose my questions to you. Okay. Granted, we need this. Okay. So I'm not talking about, my questions is not about whether or not the county is in need. The questions are about the agreement itself. Okay, because it's a $7.4 million agreement. It said here that this agreement that is before it is not just the agreement that the county enters with Motorola to provide the service, but in addition to it, it's also a financing agreement with Motorola, correct?
I think that's an accurate description.
Okay. Well, I think it would be as well if what we just heard was that Motorola is offering 2 payment options.
Right.
Okay. So, but we don't necessarily need to. There's other ways to finance this, and that's what I'm talking about for purposes from this point on, is how the county will finance it. Okay. So this agreement, as I read through it and read your notes, was that first off, the county would be you and Cheryl Hyde had talked about possibly asking Motorola to remove the interest on late payments. Okay.
And that was the subject of our conference call this morning, and I got them to increase their grace period. It originally had been set at 10, and they talked about 20. I got them up to 30 days. They're going to invoice us 60 days in advance of the due date, and then we have a 30-day grace period, so that in essence there is a 90-day window from the time that we receive our invoice to the time we would be required to make our payment without having to pay simple interest at the maximum legal rate. Now, as I believe Mr. Lally has pointed out, the other option, which would give us more time, would be the 15 months, which would be a higher interest rate. And even if you had to pay, because of some cash flow problem, even if you had to pay more money based on that 30-day window, you would still be paying less than you would under the other option.
Okay, no doubt the two options that Motorola presented, the first option is better. Okay, so
Yes.
enough said on that. So let's still get back to the financing of it, okay? So you said you just had a conversation with them this morning. So then,
Yes.
so do we have documentation that shows that rather than a 30-day, that the county will now have a 90-day? So that we can,
Well,
I don't want to go away from this meeting and saying, well, we thought that this is what was going to be in the
you
agreement.
have a 30-day grace period. They're going to send you an invoice 60 days in advance of the due date. And then you have a 30-day grace period to make the payment after the due date that's shown on the invoice.
Okay, so in other words, they're not going to remove the interest.
In other words, they're not going to remove the interest. They would not do that.
Okay, the next question is, it says after the warranty expires. How long is the warranty in this agreement?
It's a 1-year warranty from the date that it's put in service, not from the date that it's that you buy it. It's not like a car that goes to.
I got it.
Okay.
So, but it's also says that after 1 year, after it expires from the date of service, that there's going to be a maintenance fee of $199,000 plus.
Yes.
Okay, for the second year, and it goes as high as $224,735 for the 6th year.
That's right.
Okay, and this is a 10-year agreement, correct?
Yes.
So it's
They don't have the numbers beyond year 6.
but it's not cut off at any particular year. There's
No.
still going to be a maintenance fee.
They're going to sell you a maintenance agreement, and that's what they've done.
And the maintenance agreement goes up every year, or at least it goes up from year 2 through year 6.
Yeah.
Was there any negotiation to try to avoid that? I mean, because you're talking $199,000 all the way up.
I don't believe that was ever offered to us.
Okay. It says the hardware should be good to the year 2028. Okay.
That's
Which we understand. Okay.
Yeah.
But it also says that there's annual software updates. Okay. So those annual software updates, how much is that? I want to make sure that we all understand the amount. It's 7.4. Is this in addition then to?
My understanding was that was that 199,000. If Mr. Napolo is here, maybe he has a different understanding.
Well, one says maintenance fee and one says software updates. I want to make sure that you know.
That was my understanding, that the software updates.
I'm sorry, there's a hand in the back.
That's Mr. Napolo.
Yeah, I can clarify a couple of things.
But just so that I can do this in a logical way, since I thought about this, if you could address stuff for what I got, okay? Instead of just
With the maintenance, the maintenance figure that we were provided, and I believe in the contract we have 2 years. So this figure would be for the beginning of the third year. Okay, there's 2 years.
Okay, what I'm reading is that it says the second year it goes up. So.
Yeah. Well, in the pricing that we got for the maintenance, that was the first year, the maintenance pricing, but that would be, we have 2 years in the lease agreement. But that's the figure that we used. That figure is a number that would be a high-end figure for maintenance. And one of the things that we have done with the present system is we negotiated with Motorola to come down on maintenance by not providing 24-hour service. We're doing it basically in a business hour service with a negotiated hourly rate for emergency call-outs after hours.
After the 2-year maintenance, after the 2 years has passed.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Yes. The first 2 years is 24/7. Yes.
And then so starting in the third year, it's an hourly rate.
Well, the figure you're seeing is 24/7. We can work that down, and that's what we did the last time. The other thing that we
So in the agreement that we are being asked to vote on and sign, does the document state that that's negotiable? To work down after the third year?
Yeah, the figures aren't identified in the document you're signing. The maintenance agreement, those figures are not locked into the agreement. That separate maintenance agreement would be negotiated as we get into this. We're 18 months away from the installation, and we asked them for a high-end figure to use for budget purposes.
By comparison, what's the estimated maintenance cost? You asked for a high end. What's the range?
Well, I
Is there
don't
anybody
have
here from Motorola?
Yes.
Well, maybe we could ask that question directly to them.
Yeah.
What we did is we quoted the maintenance agreement based upon a 7x24. If my memory serves me, it was approximately $225,000 a year. What we've said and what we've recommended to the county, there's no commitment on the part of the county at this point for that maintenance. It can be negotiated at a later time. In fact, I believe that if Fayette County and Armstrong and Westmoreland come to us as a joint entity as part of the I-Corps, we would be able to negotiate a better pricing structure based upon the scale of the agreement using all the counties together. I don't have that number in front of me here today, but I would believe if we reduce the 7x24 and things of that nature, there would be probably a reduction of about a third, maybe $150,000 a year, which would provide all the hardware support and things of that nature.
Well, if Motorola does not provide the maintenance, who would?
No, we would provide the maintenance through our authorized service facility, which is Staley's Communications. They would be your on-site person here within the county. They get the full support from Motorola locally as well as our corporate headquarters.
Okay. And you had made a comment that if memory serves you right, that it would be whatever you said a number. What was that?
I thought it was about $225,000 for year 3.
Well, again, that was
good. It would be good if we could have, so that we don't take this the wrong, loss of memory, so that we could, have something.
I've got the maintenance.
Yes.
I don't have them with me, but I have them.
It was spelled out in the proposal, and again, that the commitment of the county to move forward on the project does not obligate them to purchase this service as laid out in the proposal 3 years down the road, or probably closer to 5 years down the road.
Okay. The other question is, first to the solicitors and then to you, okay? Because you're from Motorola.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. By the county entering into this agreement, since it is a two-part agreement, to purchase the system as well as to lock in a financing arrangement with the county and Motorola. But it also says in the resolution, okay, that, let me see what it says here. The county will review, discuss, and approve a financing agreement with Motorola for a lease purchase, as well as other financial options available to the county. So, we don't, since the county, to my knowledge, has not sought out other financing arrangements, okay? I mean, I do know that there was a meeting, First Niagara came to the county and met with some individuals on behalf of the county to talk about future financing of projects for the county. But there was no numbers. It was just, I think, an introduction, hey, I'm First Niagara. Also, because there was an article in the paper about the county looking into this agreement, there was another bank that had contacted the county. Chief Clerk, you forwarded that to us. You remember the name of that bank? Was it Commonwealth? Community. Yeah, Community Bank. Okay, so thus far, there's 2 financial institutions that are willing to work with the county on financing of this. Also, we've heard, I know Commissioner Orsini has talked about at one of the other meetings about possibly a bond, floating a bond. And we've heard, well, maybe, using some of the impact fee monies. There may be other banks out there that, or other revenue sources that we can use, even possibly a grant, as the individuals had said. So the question is, by signing this agreement, the two-part agreement, okay, no problem with entering into an agreement for the new system, but the second part of the agreement for county to finance with Motorola, by signing that, does that preclude the county then from seeking any other financing options that may be better for the county? Not that Motorola is not giving us a good financing package. It's what you've presented with two options. But there may be something else out there that the county, it may be more beneficial for the county. We don't know that because we haven't not yet explored those options. So the question is, by signing this, does it lock us, the county, into dealing only with Motorola for the financing end of it?
Is there an option to be separated from the terms of the financial agreement if the county is able to find a better financial offer by another institution?
The county can pay off this loan at any time with no penalty. So if the county were to move ahead with this and they determine that come January 1st, when their payment is due, that they do not want to proceed and they have a better financing package, it's my understanding, I can't speak for the Motorola Credit Corp, but my understanding they would only be liable for the interest incurred from the time that the agreement is executed till said time that you cancel it.
Okay, so in other words, I think what you said by your first statement was we could terminate the financing agreement, but you didn't say that by us signing both agreements that we haven't been locked in. So in other words, if we signed the two-part agreement, then the county has agreed to finance it through Motorola, and then if we go find other better financing, we can pay you off.
Yes.
Okay, so you've answered the question. It means we've entered into the agreement. Now, some may say, well, what you have presented is 2.68, 2.69, and that's a great rate. Someone may say that. That's not the point, though, okay? Because we don't know whether or not we could get a better rate because we haven't explored that. And not only that, perhaps we, the county, may look at financing it maybe 2 or 3 prong, okay? Not just with one financial institution, maybe through a grant, through the impact fee, possibly, and then through financing through Motorola or another bank. So I'm concerned with solely just signing with Motorola and the county not having the exploring of these other options. We may not finance it, at what is it, 10 years or 12? 10? 10 years at 2.69, the 7.4. We may finance, maybe we only have to finance 4 or 5 million because we have other revenue sources to pay towards the contract.
One point I'd like to raise is the discussion about a grant. The grant that was applied for by the 34 fire departments, the monies would not be applicable to this. The monies would go to assist the fire departments at making the radio changes they need from analog to digital. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any other grants that possibly may be out there? I remember I was at one of your.
Yes,
there are grants out there, right?
And what the scenario that you presented there is exactly what the county did back in 94, 95. They financed it, and then a couple years into it, we had been collecting the 911 surcharge. We paid some of it down, and the county refinanced it.
Okay, but to clarify this grant, when I said that company or volunteer company, fire departments, and others, there's possibility of grant, I I am correct in that, yes. The grant that you're talking about, or they were talking about, is, right, it's different. But there are still other grants based on the meetings that we had. I think it was, I can't think of the individual's name from FEMA or somewhere.
Right.
He said that they're,
Glen Canyon.
Yeah, right.
And one of the
But there are-
stipulations,
there are-
one of the stipulations in order to be eligible is this regional association, correct?
Yeah, yes, I mean, as it stands now, the departments are requesting dollars for a system that doesn't exist. And when the grants, when the money is being looked at, obviously they're looking at it in that situation. So it's obviously going to give us more of an opportunity to seek grants to say that we have taken the step forward to update the system and tie into I-Corps.
Right. I don't want to get tied up on the conversation to go and talk only about grants.
Right.
The issue here is signing the agreement and being locked into an agreement with Motorola's financing. There may or may not be grants out there. We don't know that. But again, let's not just zero in on grants. There's other financing mechanisms that may or may not be able to be used. And the concern is that we may be able to get better financing options with another bank, or maybe not finance the entire 7.4, maybe only finance ours. So the question then, I think the gentleman from Motorola answered that, which was, no, by signing this, we're locked in with their whatever option we chose, which obviously option 1 is the better option, but at the same token, if we then later go out and find a different financing packet, then we have to do a payoff with you.
Yes, the other part is, in the past, we have been willing to restructure loans. If the county did receive a grant for $2 million, we would then restructure the loan and then recreate the new package with a lower principal and possibly a lower term, however you wish to reset the loan, if you will.
Okay,
So
the two financial institutions that have made contact with the county mentioned the municipal financing. I mean, they do the municipal financing, and they may have better terms and rates than Motorola credit company may have.
Commissioner, if I may, in regards to you mentioned two things. One, you mentioned a bond issuance for possibly covering this.
No, I mentioned that's what I
A possibility.
Heard. That's what I heard what
Okay.
someone was considering.
Well, just for comparative analysis, when we refinanced our bonds with Janney Capital on June the 18th, for $13.9 million in refinancing, we paid $182,000 in upfront fees and $7,600 in other user fees. So as a methodology of financing this, a bond would not be prudent because of the fees involved in the basis point calculation.
Okay, before you move on, again, let's make it really clear that Angela Zimmerlin, Commissioner, did not propose to finance this through a bond.
I didn't say that you
I just want to
proposed.
make sure that another commissioner had said that that's a possibility. I want to make sure that we are looking at all of the financing opportunities and not just Motorola, so that we can, it's obvious why we need to do that. I'm not proposing to have a bond. We just refinanced and restructured for a reason.
One of the things we did when we spoke with Motorola was we told them we needed options on financing because we knew there was discussions on where the future the funding would go. They had given us a payment schedule if we opted into another financial mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that's there, but it's going to require a significant outlay of cash upon signature. So, again, to move forward, we looked at the financial package as a means to start the process, and we were, always asking the question, this isn't locking us in. This could be converted at any time to another.
Then I have a question for the solicitor who reviewed it and who's present. From your review of the document, are you confident that the county has the ability to, number one, seek other financial opportunities and do a payoff if that's
Well,
with Motorola without any negative financial impact to the county? And two, is there anything in the agreement that precludes the county from renegotiating the terms of the, what is it, did you say 10 or 12? 10-year agreement?
Okay, well, let me start with the fact that we talked about this a half hour before the commissioners meeting, and I do not have a document that embodies all the things we discussed before me, because we discussed things that they agreed to change. It was not contemplated by me that I would be able to hand you a document today that you could sign for the financing.
Well, but the motion before us, there's a motion and a sec. There's a
Yeah, as I read it, and you know, maybe I'm reading too much or not enough into it, it says the county will review, discuss, and approve a financing agreement with Motorola for a lease purchase, as well as other financial options available to the county. Now, when I read the agenda item, I thought you were going to approve getting the radio system, and then whenever we get the final document from Motorola Finance, that you would approve that based upon the guidelines that we...
And the reason for my questions, because as you know, you're reading the same thing I'm reading, and that's why I asked at the very beginning, is this a two-part, and this has, again, nothing to do with entering into the agreement, but financing it. And if we go solely with the financing...
Well, I'll sell you the equipment if you give me money.
I understand that. That's not the point. I mean, the point is we have to finance $7.4 million, and we want to do it in the most reasonable way, and we don't want to be locked into anything if we don't have to. And I know you said you just read it a half hour ago, but is that what you said?
I said I just talked to him a half hour ago.
Okay.
And I didn't get we discussed certain things with Motorola regarding the payment plan, and they were supposed to. Well, I didn't
10:59, the email came, or 9:59. I'm sorry. Yeah, I haven't reviewed it myself, but we did get it.
Okay, so let's get past the, just got this now, but again, I mean, I would like to have some sort of an assurance that by signing the two-prong agreement, it does not lock the county in without any negative financial impact on it. So who's able to answer that question, since there's a motion and a second? And this is for both agreements. I mean, sir, I'm sorry,
Jim.
You said Jim, right? I don't, what's your last name?
Aaron.
Okay. Can you point out in the agreement that's before us where it may say, so we can take a look at it, where it may say that there is an option for the county to refinance, there would not be any penalty, or...
I would need to go through the document to pinpoint that. However, I have worked with Motorola Credit Corporation, Bill Stancic, and I would be happy to follow up with him to ensure the fact when the county and the procedures by which they would be able to either cancel the agreement, redo it, or anything else before the commissioners would execute said agreement. So
would you say that today's meeting that we could approve the agreement to enter with Motorola for the service of I-4, and then at a later time enter into the financing, or are you saying that this needs to be done?
Well,
today?
there was one of the reasons we brought both forth is when we do a lease purchase agreement, we have a 3-day window with the banks in today's economic environment. So we waited to ensure that when we brought a rate to you, that we could stand behind that rate. So if we delay the lease purchase plan, if it will be subject to market conditions at that point in time. So if we execute the contract, we can have a executed contract. I have to check with some of our people to see how far we can go with that contract as it's basically an unfunded contract at that point in time.
And the first payment is due January 2000.
No, the actual first payment is due upon execution of the contract.
So how much is that?
It is, if my memory serves me,
10%.
10%. What that does is that creates the mobilization by which we start bringing the engineers and start going out and doing site visits, engineering studies, and all the other procedures by which need to take place.
Okay, so $740-some thousand.
Correct.
Okay, and we execute this before, at the end of, before you leave. Didn't I hear someone saying that you wanted this before you left? So where has the county determined, and that's not a question for you, because you don't know, where has the county determined where the $740-some thousand is?
That'd be a question for me.
Okay.
In our debt service, when we refunded the bond with Cheney Capital, our debt service had an amount of $919,000 that was budgeted to be appropriated for the payment of debt. Being that we refinanced the bond, we no longer have that obligation, so that money is sitting in the bond account and could be used for this purchase. And that total, find it here, I believe it was $919,000 was the actual number.
So in other words, Motorola came to us at the right time because all of the work we did a few months ago to restructure the bond and save $1.some million, is a portion of that would now be used for this down payment.
Right, the way that the table broke out from Cheney Capital, and this is the email that they sent me on June the 18th, $917,590 is what was allocated for debt servicing. That money is not going to be spent because of the refinancing and could cover this 10% down payment at this time, and still leave $200,000 approximately left over.
Now, I would have to say that if you did that with using the payment schedule, now, forget the lease and using the payment schedule, another 15% would be due upon completion of the contract design review, which is projected to be before the second quarter of 2013. So you would have another 15% payment due in 6 months, give or take.
Which is roughly,
Well, that would be 7,
9, 10.
Yeah,
Okay.
1.1. About 1.1, without a calculator.
All right.
15%.
Due when? The second quarter?
With the final payment being approximately 18 months down the road, when the Motorola has satisfied all the requirements within the contract and the county has final system acceptance.
And I understand progression. Being a commissioner, we've had this type of payment options before, just not this amount. But so you're anticipating that the second quarter of 2013 would be the first progression payment, which is approximately $1 million.
Be the second.
The second quarter of 2013.
Yes, that'll be the second payment.
Right.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
it would be the first down payment of around $740,000.
Yes, ma'am.
And then in the second quarter of 2013, and another around $1 million.
Yes, ma'am. That would be the second milestone that we would reach with the county.
Where are we looking for the next million in the second quarter?
I have a question for you, Jim. Something doesn't make sense to me. We're setting up an amortization schedule of payments of $840,000 a year over 10 years. Are the monies that we are talking about right now included in that original loan agreement, and your company will make withdrawals from the finance company?
Let me go through that.
Because the way it's being presented right now is nothing that I've reviewed or understood.
What the Commissioner's bringing forth here is what I would call an outright purchase of the system with zero financing. What would happen is whether you use my financing or whoever's, if you use mine hypothetically, at the time we execute a contract, $7.4 million moves from Motorola into an escrow account. That escrow account is set forward for the amount of money required for this contract. The first invoice will be generated by Motorola. The escrow account will release $740,000.
Okay.
That will satisfy Motorola. While that money is in escrow, it will be earning interest. I don't think it's much in the way they pay now, but that escrow money is accruing interest. First quarter of next year, when the next $1 million is generated, we present that invoice to the escrow, and it is paid to Motorola out of the escrow account.
Okay, but that does not affect our down payment, correct? If we make this agreement today, on January 1st, the county would cut you a check for $840,000. That doesn't have anything to do with the $700,000 today and the $1.2 million in the future. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Because the way that you presented it was that we're going to have to make an $840,000 payment as well as these two other payments, but those payments are included in the financing package, and you're going to make draws against them.
Another way to look at it is if the county wished to make the down payment today and then determine however they want to finance the rest, how those other payments are handled, whether they be through a Motorola project or some other financing mechanism. I was just speaking to, when the payments are anticipated coming due from Motorola and how we would handle them under our lease payment. If you go a different route, I can't speak to that.
But I didn't bring up the 1.1 to the 15% in the second quarter. You did.
Well, I did that because if you went for the option of going with securing financing outside of the lease, that escrow account goes away, and that responsibility would be on us for that second $1 million.
Yeah, but we would incorporate that into our financing package if we would opt.
I just want to make sure you were aware of what
makes sense.
I mean, that would have us putting more out in the first half of 2013 than we would with the lease proposal.
Okay, so let's talk about when the money's due. The first one we just said.
January 1st of 2013.
No, the first one is today when we sign it.
No.
That's with the payment plan without the lease.
Without the lease.
Right.
Okay.
With the lease, it's due January.
So option one is with or without the payment plan?
Pardon me?
Option one is with or without the payment?
Without the
Okay.
payment plan.
So $800 and some $1,000 would be due in January, according to this.
It would actually be due now, ma'am.
So it is due now?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we're getting all mixed up here. There's two sets of payment terms, okay? There's a contract payment terms that is included as part of the contract. That states 10% is due upon contract execution. You execute a contract, probably within the next couple weeks, an invoice is going to show up to the county. And as Guy pointed out, there's another one that's going to be, let's say, 6 months down the road, hypothetically. That is totally separate than the lease purchase plan that we provided as an option to the county that would have the first payment due on January 1st.
Now, I would say delaying the expenditure of that second payment is going to delay the project also, because the design review has to be completed before they can move forward.
Well, what does 3 months in arrears mean, Jim? That doesn't make sense to me.
I'm getting really confused here.
You and I both.
I think we're all confused, and I think somebody needs to go back and do some planning and get some stuff on paper so that we know what we're paying, when we're paying, and where the payments are coming from.
The 3 months in arrears is based upon the lease purchase plan.
So if we do not sign the agreement for the lease, we would have to cut you a check for $700,000.
Correct.
If we sign the papers for the lease on January the 1st of 2013, we'll cut you a check for $844,000.
Right. That's correct.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't we sign the lease?
I'm going to suggest to the commissioners that they take this off the table and go back and start all over, because apparently nobody knows exactly what they're signing.
What's the second quarter payment?
The second quarter payment is a draw that their company is going to make against the escrowed account. We are taking out a loan for $7.8 million through Motorola Financing. At
7.4.
7.5.
Is it?
Okay,
Did you say 7.8?
I did.
Okay,
What
go
it's
ahead.
7.5.
Okay, along with
regardless of that.
Motorola.
Right.
Then I don't know, there are all these payments floating around, so it might be 7.8.
If I could speak, please. And the second part of that is that they are going to have draws against that escrow agreement. So if we do not sign an agreement today with them, we will owe them a 10% down payment of $700 and some thousand. In the first quarter of next year, we would owe them $1.5 million. Is that the correct number?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
If by signing their purchase agreement, we have to pay $844,000 on January the 1st of 2013 and 9 more consecutive payments thereafter for a 10-year escrow period or a 10-year amortization schedule. That's my understanding of this.
That's correct.
And at 2.68% interest, I just looked up the current rate of inflation, it's 3.36%. So we are saving 0.68% under inflation, which would be knocking $53,040 off of the $844,000 based on the current rate of inflation, because it's under the rate of inflation.
So signing the agreement, the two-prong agreement today, the service and the financing with Motorola, the county would be entering into an agreement, a financing agreement with Motorola for $7 some million, 2013 at 2.68%, roughly. First payment would be due January 1st, 2013.
That's correct.
Okay, of roughly $844,000.
Right, with some change. I don't know the
Right,
change.
roughly, okay. And then thereafter, are the payments stayed the same at around that $844,000?
The payments do not change. The amortization schedule is for 10 years at $844,000.
Okay.
That actual number it's 844, 488, 17.
And that does not include the maintenance or any updated software, right? For that. Sorry, Jim?
Yes, ma'am.
Does what we had just discussed, does that $844,000 payment
No, ma'am.
include any maintenance? So maintenance is on top of that?
2 years, 24/7, and then it would be subject to potential negotiation with the other counties if that would be.
That's correct. And there's one point I'd like to just mention here, and we keep throwing the software in there. Keep in mind, one of the key elements, what we want to make sure we do with these systems today is obsolescence protection. So we don't want to be back here in that period. Motorola has stated that we will support at a minimum this system through 2028. The actual updates that will need to take place predominantly are going to be at the master site where probably 90% of your software resides will be there. We have taken a position, and we know for a fact that the upgrades that will take place as far as the master system goes are available via grants. They fall within that available. Grants cannot pay maintenance. Grants can pay for upgrades. So as a regional system, we are really in the sweet spot as far as grants go. So it is our intention, once the I-cores get settled, that we create a periodic schedule that we're going to apply for grants and obtain them to do the upgrades, which is going to be the majority of the software costs, to make sure that we keep the system from falling into any possibility of obsolescence.
Okay, 2 questions on, and you said keep bringing up the software updates. This was Tuesday's email, so I have to bring it up since it came from council. It said hardware should be good to 2028 with annual software updates annually. So there's no figure here, so that's why I'm asking the question. Let me ask you 2 things.
Sure.
With the software upgrades, when do they anticipate to begin? Because one would think with a new system you wouldn't have an upgrade right away, right?
Correct.
Okay, so do you have like an anticipation
we have numerous plans that we offer various customers. In this case, what's going to be entailed here is members of the I-Corps group getting together, representatives from Fayette, Indiana, Westmoreland, and Armstrong, and looking at the various plans and saying, how do we want to move forward with updates? You can update annually. You can update every other year. We have plans that you can update every 5 years. So it really depends on what the I-Corps group wants to do and what's in the best interest as a collective group to look at the upgrade
Okay,
plans.
so they're not required upgrades.
Absolutely not.
Okay. But this would all be, with the 4 counties, all 4 would obviously have to agree on that.
That's correct.
And the way this was explained to us, the upgrades as they come out, just like your home computer or any other system, you know, you can do it. You can do a small piece now and put off a major upgrade for a few years, or you can incrementally upgrade as the software comes out. And that's a decision that's going to have to be made, as you said, by the counties. We'll bring the information back, and ultimately operational and financial decisions will have to decide how those upgrades are done.
And
And
the payments would be every January then, Controller Wallet?
Yes, every January 1st for the next 10 years of $844,448.17, not inclusive of upgrades after year number 2. For the first 2 years, the upgrades are included in a 24/7 maintenance
And then the
package.
question for the solicitors is, well, I mean, are you comfortable in that if this is signed, that it does give the option for the county to seek other payment arrangements if we can get a better cost on this?
Mr. Nampalola said that he got the email, the agreement signed.
I will answer that this way. The language that we discussed changing had to do with interest on late payments. If all the other language in that agreement is the same, then the ability is there for the county to buy out of that, paying only the interest accrued until they would change the funding mechanism. There's
Not
no...
it being negatively a financial constraint on the county. That's the question for the solicitor.
I would agree with what Mr. Nampalola said.
Yeah, but he's only talking about the interest on the late payment. I'm talking about...
And if that's all that was changed.
Okay.
See, he said they emailed in the agreement.
Okay.
If that's all that's changed, you should be okay with the prepayment payout. But he just got an email to him at 9:59. And did you print it out?
No, I was here. I'm assuming the only change is in the interest. I'm assuming all the language is the same. And again, Mr. Aarons pointed out as well, there is no penalty for prepaying this. And we've asked repeatedly Motorola that to give the commissioners flexibility to change that funding mechanism as they saw fit.
There is no prepayment penalty.
That's correct.
And I can ask our folks to reprint out a later version that would spell that out for you, so that if the county wishes to move ahead with this plan, we can have that, make sure that it is part of the clearly stated in the finance plan that there is no prepayment penalty.
In addition to that, provision would eliminate that.
I wouldn't eliminate that, right?
I think that would be a good idea. But, you should have an email to it. That?
Well, he wants us to sign this before you leave today, right? Sir? Is that right? The solicitor is stating that he would like to have that information to the county today. Is that possible?
Absolutely. We will take care of it when we finish here. We will go upstairs and get it resolved.
Any other questions? Okay, we have do you want to amend that to account for the email that
Consider approval of the contract with Motorola in the amount of $7,459,380,061.61 for the upgrade of the county's Fayette County Public Radio System with integration into the Inter-County Digital Radio System known as I-Corps, which includes Westmoreland, Armstrong, and Indiana County along with Fayette. The county will review, discuss, and approve financing agreement with Motorola for lease purchase as well as other financial options available to the county.
Well, we
And
wouldn't-
any changes?
We wouldn't need that last sentence.
Okay, well,
Because, it says the county will review, discuss, and approve a financing agreement
And-
with Motorola.
Okay.
Well, by us voting on this, we've just accepted
And
it,
then
so we don't need that sentence.
Motorola will provide any modifications to the original agreement to the Board of Commissioners as well as the Director of the 911 system immediately after this meeting. Was that? Prior to signature.
All we want is assurances that we have the flexibility to pay down.
Absolutely. I think I know for a fact you do, but for me to say it and have it as part of the contract, it's far more reassuring to just ask that we have a clause put in there that states the county has no prepayment penalty and can renegotiate the contract at your house.
Commissioner, just as a point of Commissioner, Jim, am I correct? Jim has just stated that they're going to provide. Would you repeat that, please, sir?
We will provide I usually only get it right once. Motorola will provide an updated lease purchase agreement with clauses to outline no prepayment penalty and the ability to restructure loan at no penalty to county. So that way, if you want to pay it off versus you want to pay it down, those would be almost two different type things, and assure the county that there is no penalty for that change.
Thank you.
You two better be sure of this. I'm serious.
Do you need to modify that a little bit, just to include the?
I would include the provisions
stated.
Yeah, stated by the
Mr.
representative from Motorola.
Relative to the no prepayment penalty clause.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, and it sounds to me like we have assurances that have all the flexibility we need to go forward. So do I have a second? I'll second it. I think we've discussed it appropriately. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you,
Thank you. Consider ratifying the 2012-2013 Hazardous Materials Response Fund grant in the amount of $12,965, which is administered by PEMA.
Move.
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Fayette Area Coordinated Transportation, Office of Human Resources. Consider ratifying the following agreements for fiscal year 2013 as listed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider approving the change order number 1 with Scheid and Bachman for $5,880. It includes purchase of 2,000 smart cards and 1 sales outlet terminal.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Under Human Resources, CYS, consider accepting the resignation of caseworker Anisha Muhammad effective September 14th, 2012.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Human Resources, consider approving the 150-hour volunteer internship of Laurel Business Institute Office Administration and accounting major Cassandra Weaver effective September 19th, 2012.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Under information technology, consider ratifying the resignation of part-time IT assistant Christopher Byers effective September 7th, 2012.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Under the prison, consider approving the 150-hour volunteer internship of Cal U Masters of Social Work Major James Keys effective September 20th, 2012.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Tax assessment. Consider approving the 150-hour volunteer internship of Penn State Fayette Business Major Kayla Truly
Move.
effective September 19th, 2012.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Under tax claim, consider approving the promotion of temporary accounts clerk Helen Kaufman to permanent accounts clerk at SEIU pay grade 3 at $9.71 an hour effective September 20th, 2012.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Veterans Affairs, consider ratifying the hire of Ronald Diamond as per diem driver at $60 per day effective September 4th, 2012.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Planning and Zoning Department, consider approval of the ZA 12-5 amendment to the Fayette County Zoning Ordinance 1000-203 Table 1 by adding self-service storage facility mini warehouse as a permitted use by special exception in an A1 agricultural rural zoning district.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Under the Commissioners, I'll do this, the amended one first so I don't forget. Consider adopting a resolution to show support for House Bill 135 and Justice Reinvestment Funding.
This is legislation that's proposed every year to have the courts pay for, the state to be responsible for the counties and prison, as well as courts, I'm sorry. I'll make the motion as a motion of symbolic in nature.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Consider approval of the August 21st, 2012 Fayette County Regular Commissioners Meeting Minutes.
Make the motion.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Consider approval of the acceptance of real property in Point Marion from Jules H. and Brenda S. Quarantima, donated for the sheepskin straw represented by a deed recorded in the office of the recorder of Fayette County, Pennsylvania, record book, volume 2745, page 133.
Make the motion.
I think is this the resolution that you forwarded?
Yeah.
We should say at no charge to the county. Correct?
Yes.
I mean, the resolution doesn't say that, but reading the resolution that you wrote, the resolution that's being approved here is one sentence, but in that document, I want to make it clear that this is being gifted to the county.
We're not paying anything for that.
It does say donated in the. Okay, I second that. Is all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Consider ratification of the following transfers as listed for total debits of $5,136.74 and credits of the same.
Move.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Under public announcements, the Election Bureau, under the new voter ID law, all voters will be required to show a photo ID before voting at the polling place during the Tuesday, November 6th presidential election. All photo IDs must contain an expiration date that is current or expired within the past year. Anyone without an ID can get one free of charge at the PennDOT Driver's License Center. Is there any public comments?
Now, I've got a question to ask you all. You all here just spent $840,000 of the taxpayers' money.
$840,000
Pardon?
per year.
Yeah. At the budget year, you guys raised $5 million tax increase because you didn't have the money to balance the budget, I believe. Now, Mr. Aberdeen yesterday in the paper said that he's looking for a new prison. From what figures I got, a new prison is going to cost a vertical prison, a parallel prison, will cost $65 million, not counting cost overruns. From the figures I have inquired about a new prison, okay? So then, I don't know if Mr. Lawley had outlined any projected spending between now and the end of the year, okay? Now, I know that you need this digital radio system real bad. You all are in dire need. We're in dire need of a prison. But you're sitting at the taxpayers, and you may say, no, we're not, but you're setting up the taxpayer for a hefty tax increase for next budget year. And I estimate that your budget increase is going to have to be at least 20 to 25 mil to meet your budget, to balance your budget. Now, I don't know if you shopped around to see if this digital system could be had for a lower cost or not, but I doubt it very much it can be. But I know that there's people that will share satellites, like the GPS satellites with governments, that's starting to open up. That could be, I guess you told me $22 million for satellite technology, but I know that the county can go out and shop to share satellite technology. Technology for satellite is so far advanced right now. Give you an example. The government, the agency, can beam right in on us and hear everything we see, can see us in color. You have no privacy in your homes or nothing, and in cars. That's just how far advanced satellite technology is. The digital technology, by the time this contract is over with, 2028, you're going to have that technology, and the county wants to go with it. I think the county should shop around first before you even spend $1 on this. Now, we don't have a crystal ball. Nor did Harrisburg, nor did Scranton have a crystal ball, and look where they're at.
One point I want to raise to Mr. Pritchard is our current system is in such bad shape that if it would malfunction, and we did have a crash a few months ago, that our 911 system would not be operable. This was a matter of necessity, a matter of need, in order to protect those who respond to the calls, and of course the residents of the county.
I understand.
Again, this is the best technology that we're aware of, and that was presented to us. And
I think that you can, instead of entering into an inter-county agreement, I think you should take care of Fayette County at the present time. Then later, when the county gets more money and more resources, then enter into an inter-county agreement.
This would cost, if Fayette County did not undertake this agreement, it would cost us more money. The costs are being reduced by a couple of factors. One, that we don't need to buy 4 master switches. There's only going to be 2 that you can purchase. There's a number of variables that come into play. All 3 commissioners, I think, have gone on site to see the nerve center of the operation. It's pretty technical. I'm not qualified to offer any comment on the technical side, but it was a matter of true necessity.
Mr. Lloyd, we have $840,000 to write that check to that guy.
We do.
How much will we have left in our account after you write that check?
Less than 840,000. You'll have 840,000 less. The budget is ever changing, Mr. Pritchard. Right now we have $5 million in cash. Subtract 840,000 from $5 million. That's where we'll be at.
Pardon, 840,000 subtracted from $5 million?
Yes. in that approximate range.
When we do that, it's 4.2 million. Would that be approximately 4.160 million?
And there are other expenses, of course. That number is not static, it changes.
That includes payroll, the essentials of the courthouse, essentials of 911 building, the salaries.
Well, Mr. Pritchard, to put it into a perspective that we can all understand, these documents right here are every account that we have and what needs to come in and out of it. If you're asking me to nail down specific numbers on certain things, I could, but not on our overall budget, no.
Could you do that today and let the media know after the $840,000 that's spent that you'd like to check and the projected cost of the county between now and the end of the year, if the county can make it?
I could do a projection, certainly.
Would you do that and let the news media know so the taxpayers would know?
If the news media chooses to take a story on that, I could.
Would you be interested in that?
Yes.
Yes, they would.
Okay.
And
some of the points that you brought up, Mr. Pritchard, you have to understand there's an economic principle called economies of scale. If our county would have chosen not to get the other counties' involvement, we would have not received the economies of scale and our costs would have been greater than they are now. So you implied in your statement that there wasn't research done, there wasn't analysis. All three commissioners were involved in searching this out and seeking these proposals. Where I came into the picture was somebody dropped off on my desk a financing agreement and said, can we do this? The answer is yes, we can. And you have to remember, part of the tax increase that was levied last year was in anticipation, knowing full well that we had to upgrade these services. This was not like it was a big surprise. As Mr. Napolillo said at the podium, that was a year ago that they were talking about these discussions. And in their planning for a budget, a tax increase was one of the ways to meet this obligation. This isn't a choice. We have to do this.
I understand that. I'm fully aware of this, Mr. Lawley, okay? That the county so needs this, or they're going to be without a system to communicate with the 911 and others. I understand this. But I'm saying there could be satellite technology out there similar to GPS that somebody will let the county of Fayette share the satellite in order to get this system that the Fayette County needs less than $7.4 million.
That would be an assumption.
Mr. Pritchard, I understand what you're asking. But the fact is, and I think Commissioner Zapotowski explained it, is, you know, those technologies aren't really affordable, or else we would have, and they may not be available to us. So what we're buying is what's available, what's dependable, and what will take us up to at least 2028. And I appreciate your comments. Mr. Mazza.
I wish to ask the board to do something, but before I do, I want to preface it with, you know that Fayette County has a bad reputation, the perception of our neighbors of Fayette County. In fact, they call us Vietnam. So it was very nice to see Fayette County do something and read a story in the paper and see it on TV that was positive and put Fayette County in a different light. I think we put a feather in the hat of Fayette County. I'm talking about the mile-long motorcade, the Missing in America project, and the burial of 15 veterans and one wife. As Steve Hackey said, in his 55 years as a funeral director, he never perceived anything as moving and memorable as what he saw that day. Now, the man behind the whole thing, as I've told you before, was Lanny Golden. Lanny worked on this project for 5 years, and about 5 or 6 of us helped him in the past year or 2 years. And it was a great success, and Lanny, of course, never takes the limelight. He never wants it. In fact, they had to hunt him down to interview him we had a lot of celebrities there. There was people represented Senator Toomey, Congressman Murphy. In fact, our congressman was about the only one that didn't have a representative there. And the county, the state was represented, of course, Debbie Kula, whose legislation made this possible, actually. And Tim Mahoney had people there, and he had helped us too in the background. And but the thing is, there was two things there that really impressed me. One was the whole ceremony, but the junior ROTC from Albert Gallatin, they were magnificent. Those youngsters stood out in uniform, holding flags for over 2 hours at attention.
In the hot sun.
What?
In the hot sun.
In the hot sun, yeah. And I mean, the West Pointers couldn't have done a better job than they did. I mean, they were terrific. So what I'm asking the board is, I think it would be nice if this board would recognize Lanny Golden for being the driving force behind this whole project, and the junior ROTC from Albert Gallatin, because they certainly deserve recognition. And that's my request. And of course, it's up to you guys to make the decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr.
Okay,
Mayor.
thank you. I actually have to agree wholeheartedly. Lanny did an excellent job. He was persistent. He worked on this effort basically continuously, and he got a lot of people's attention and the right people. And it was a teamwork effort, and it resulted in a
Well, the thing,
very good thing.
The thing I admire most about Lanny, he does a lot of things, and but he never asked for recognition ever. All he ever asked for is results, and that's. I think it's time that somebody recognized him for what he does.
Thank you. Evelyn?
Evelyn Hovanek, just some comments. Mr. Lally said that we had no choice in what we do in repairing, replacing our system. We do have a choice, Mr. Lally. We always have a choice. Choice is, do we want to spend the money the way that you have decided, or do we not want to spend the money that way? Do we have to spend all of the money? How many other places have you gone prior to this to find out what would be the possible cost? My comments are not about doing something about upgrading the system. Common sense tells you that after 15 to 18 years you're going to need it, but you're spending anywhere around $8 million or more, because we don't have any idea of what all the costs are. At least I don't. I sat here and listened for a long time, and there were all kind of figures being floated about. And if the three commissioners sitting up there understood all of that and have a plan, I wish you would put it on paper someplace so those of us who don't read minds and don't understand all of this stuff that I heard here, so that I could understand it. Because in the last analysis, your choice is going to cost me more money. And this has been the way this country has gone for the past 20 years. It's more for this, more for that, more for the next thing. Nobody says to me, how much increase did you get as you now give us another increase? I don't believe, after listening to this, that we have the best deal we could get. I think we have the most convenient deal we could get. And that is not necessarily the best deal. I was saddened to watch the two of you really didn't even address some of these questions. You didn't even ask the question. Maybe you asked them someplace before. That's a possibility. I don't know that. But honestly, I'm not in charge of the budget of this $24 million or whatever it is we get per year in tax money. But you're going to spend $8 million of it over 10 years. Now, I'm going to tell you, just going from my computers, in 10 years, that stuff's obsolete. What do you have in 10 years when it becomes obsolete? How much does it cost for maintenance? How much is it going to cost for upgrades? We just spent $500,000 on a software upgrade for the controller's office. There is a limit to what you can do. You read the stories in the paper about how bad everything is in Fayette County. We're only going to put us in a hole that's even deeper. We can't afford all of the things that you wish you could do. It's time, I think, to step back and make some really difficult choices.
Mrs. Minnick, I, with all due respect, and I see there's some here still here, we couldn't afford not to do this.
And prove that to me.
You know what? Elsie, would you like to explain what your situation is and some of the firefighter situation is with radios when you respond to a call?
Hey, I don't need that. I know
No,
they
that's
have
part
problems.
of the reason why we did it, ma'am, is we're trying to provide a network that allows people to respond.
I know what you're trying to do, and I'm trying to tell you from the other side. You are trying to do what you think is best, and I'm trying to say to you, can your tax-paying public handle this additional debt? It's not our only debt. We have debt all over the place. And I read an article recently that said there were 46 or 47 municipalities in the state of Pennsylvania in bankruptcy or just about to go there. If you continue the way we are, just anything we think we need, we buy, and we spend millions of dollars on it. We need some of these things. I'm not going to say that, but sometimes you make hard choices. And I don't see hard choices coming out. What I see is saying, we have to do this. There's no choice. There is always a choice. And I'm going to leave it at that. But I would have loved to have seen something on paper that said, here is what we're getting and what it's going to cost. Here is what it's going to cost us to maintain it and upgrade the software. Here is what it's going to cost us each year. And this is where we're going to get the money each year to pay for this. Then I would have probably not been standing here. But I have been thoroughly disappointed in the way this issue has been handled. Thank you.
Yes, sir, in the back.
That was published in the paper about having a meeting to show what we are getting. And again, I'm biased. I'm a taxpayer. I do not hold political office. Don't work for the county anymore. I'm just on the same page with you. But there was, and they did spell out exactly what we are getting.
I didn't see it in the paper. I saw nothing on a computer. I saw nothing that explained it.
It was in the Herald-Standard.
It wasn't there.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, there was an article there, but the details of that, just as I outlined. What does it cost? What are we getting? How much more is it going to cost us additionally each year for maintenance, for software, and where is this money coming from? Is it coming out of that $300,000 that we have left over? Well, that's not going to make much of a dent. And I want to know, where are we getting this money from? I am assuming that the commissioners are assuming that they can always increase the millage. That's what we did this year, and that's what we'll do every year from here on out, as we spend our way into oblivion.
Well, Evelyn, if I could just address a few issues. First of all, I don't want to sell our EMA director and his coordinator short. Those guys have been working extremely hard for years. Now, I obviously wasn't a commissioner beyond this year, but I know for a fact that when these things were talked about a year ago about this time, that this system was going to cost $12 million. Now, they have been working very hard along with the commissioners to try to get those costs down.
I don't doubt you.
And we're up against an issue with the unreliability of the current system. As Commissioner Zapatowski already stated, we already had a significant problem not too long ago.
I have them all the time.
And if we have, and those unreliability issues can result in significant liability costs for the county. And I don't want to get into specifics, but I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. So, we can't wait forever. We are under some type of time constraint here. We do have the responsibility for public safety for the county, And so, everything's a compromise. So we have to do the best we can.
So what are you going to reduce to pay for this?
Well, Evelyn, the fact of the matter is, we knew this was coming.
I know that.
That's why we were forced to make the tax increase we had to make. It's, part of that increase is going to pay for this system. It's already been considered.
That increase has been spent umpteen different ways already, and that I will almost guarantee you that within, if not this year, the next year there will be a millage increase on the citizens of Fayette County, who supposedly are the poorest in the world, and yet we can continue to do this. I read about how terrible our health situation is. I read about this stuff all the time. And our answer is spend more money, spend more money, spend more money. The problem is you don't have that kind of an economic tax base so that you can spend all that money. And if you did have it, then maybe you could think about that, but you don't have it. So you have to live within what you have. And all I'm saying to you, Al, do I disagree with you? No, I know this is serious business. But it's also serious business when you're facing bankruptcy. And we are going to do that at some point if we continue to spend without trimming anything off. You can't do that forever. There is a limit, and I think we're reaching it soon. That's the end of it.
Thank you for your opinions, Evelyn.
Mr. Edgardine,
Okay.
we don't blame these three commissioners, okay? We know all these three commissioners put the people's interest way before your interest. We know this. But it's the past year's administration that acted irresponsibly that got us to this point. And we had to act.
Ted, I want to stop you right there because I appreciate, your analysis, but this Board of Commissioners has to deal with the problems today. It's our responsibility. We will deal with them. We'll do the best we can for the community, and we're not going to look at past administrations and point.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you're getting to the point. We're at the point now with the money in situation and $26 million budget. Okay, that's from a molehill to a mountain. Now we're facing a mountain right now, and we have to deal with it like Evelyn said. We can't spend beyond our means. We have to work ourselves up again to a responsible county government. And we have to take the taxpayers' precision and accountability because there's people out there that's not even living payday to payday. They're lucky if they live from payday 5 days beyond payday. They're starving. Food pantries in Greene counties are empty. Our food pantries in Fayette County are nearly empty. We have to be sympathize and be compassionate and empathy toward the taxpayers and spending the money of the county government and the taxpayers' money now. We're not blaming neither one of you three. We're just going to have to live within our limits. And we cannot afford in this economy another tax increase. Not one meal can we afford it. We don't have it. So, in essence, what do? When we get our paycheck, we must return our paycheck over, endorse it, and give it to you. That's what you want anyway.
I want to ask about the solicitors. My understanding was you brought a solicitor in to revamp the job descriptions of the solicitors we already had. Correct? And we're paying him $4,000 to do that. Yet I see him sitting here today consulting on contracts. Why is he consulting on contracts if his sole purpose is to revamp the job descriptions of the solicitors?
One of his significant functions is to help us get into to create a litigation avoidance posture in Fayette County. And the contract administration is a very important part of that. So he needs to be able to see how we're handling those things. That's
How does that revamp the job description of the present solicitors? Because you said when you brought him on board, his sole job would be to revamp the job description of the solicitors, and he would be gone by December. He would accomplish that by December and he'd be gone. But I see him consulting contracts now, which is not revamping the job description of the solicitors. Maybe I'm thick and I don't understand, but to me, revamping the job description has nothing to do with contracts.
Jerry, if our solicitor doesn't know what our vulnerabilities are, then it's not going to be he's not going to be able to do a very good job of determining what skill sets that we need in the solicitor's office. If you want to sit down with me sometime, I'll be more than happy to go into abundant detail with this process. It's not simple. Is there any other
Neither
comments?
was the Motorola agreement and everything that, all the questions that I had asked that should have been able to be answered well before this morning's meeting.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you all for attending.